In this video, I'm going to be going through all of the Spider-Man No Way Home minifigures I have done so far. This includes some for the Statue of Liberty project, and a few other ones that I have some secret plans for later on down the line. And make sure you stay to the end of the video because I have a model to show you guys that I need your opinion on, and this video is sponsored by Flexispot. Stay tuned till midway through the video where you can find out how to get 30% off one of their amazing desks. So without further ado, let's jump in. Now, if you guys have been around through the Daily Bugle project and the Airport project, you would know that we do eventually an episode based around minifigures. In these videos, I show off pretty much all the minifigures that are going to go inside of this model. For the Daily Bugle one, we went through 20 plus minifigures, and the Airport battle was a good 10 or so. But this episode, I want to go through some of the minifigures that are going to be included in this, meaning there will be more minifig episodes in the future. So if you enjoy these minifig episodes, make sure you hit subscribe because there's definitely more on the way. The main reason for this difference is because there are a few things that I have planned for a few figures that just either aren't with me yet, I don't have the pieces for, and the figures I do have, I want to get your opinion on before I put them in their final form. And I want to say quickly before I get it loads in the comments, this is not all of the minifigures that will be going on this model. In fact, some of these minifigures won't be going in the model at all. I have just made them because I want to make every single figure from Spider-Man No Way Home. This episode is going to be what I'm calling the purist episode, meaning that you can make most of these minifigures out of official LEGO parts, with the exception of one, which we'll get into later. So without further ado, let's jump into our first figure.
Weird.
Thanks. Sorry.
Now, Sandman in the film I was really worried about, considering he consists of sand throughout most of this entire film. But it turns out they have made a Sandman figure that consists of pretty much all sand. And that set was the Spider-Man Spider Crawler. This version of Flint Marko is perfect for the No Way Home one because the body consists of mainly a tan coloring, although I wish it was dark tan to make it a little bit more accurate. I think this is the best we're going to get for now. Also, that face print is just phenomenal in my opinion. But I will choose the non-screaming one because I feel like that's more of the personality that he had during No Way Home. Now, there are a few things we need to do to make this figure more No Way Homey. First things first, we unfortunately need to take off that lovely sand piece that he has at the bottom and give him some regular tan old legs. And next thing I think we need to do is remove that hair piece, as I really don't think that this one looks very good. The only one I think could look good in this situation is this one, but unfortunately when I bought this one from Bricklink, it seems very loose on the head, so I might need to buy another one. But unfortunately, this hairpiece seems to be quite rare, so I don't particularly want to do that unless I have to. So I might just have to deal with this wonky hairpiece for now. I know on the larger blueprint, we're probably going to make a larger Sandman figure to go in the background, but I really want to make that larger Sandman model removable in case we decide that we want to do the minifigures fighting as well. The variations and displays I think is going to be very important on this model, and again, that gets into something I want to talk about a bit later. The next figure I want to display on this model is the Doctor Strange figure. Yes, he will be included on this MOC for those who asked on Discord and previous videos, but unfortunately because the Doctor Strange figure is, well, arguably perfect, there's not really much we can do in terms of upgrading the figure to make him a more accurate figure. The only thing I will say, however, is that I was thinking about changing his arm printing because I noticed Mini Superheroes Today did a wonderful job at finding some arm printing for Doctor Strange, which adds a little gold band. Here is some footage from his video. Like I say, variation is going to be key in terms of this model. I want to be able to display it in tons of different ways, considering it's such a large model, and I want to be able to change it up from time to time. And as Doctor Strange isn't really there till the end, it's a figure I wanted to include, but not one I think will be there permanently all the time. Now, as for Electro, this is one of those figures which I think I'm going to need your guys' help with. As for a purist option, there's just nothing out there right now that looks like his ending film fight. I know some people have used the Bones armor from Mark 41 to kind of give that illusion, and that's probably what I would do in this situation as well. But unfortunately, until we get an official LEGO version of this figure, I don't see anybody being able to use another random torso to give this same effect. The one that I've used in this situation is the Fireman's torso, and the main reason I've used this one is because it kind of has the arc reactor, in this case a torch, in the same spot that the arc reactor is in the film. Now, the huge problem with this is the fact that he also wears a fireman's outfit throughout this film, so you don't want people thinking that you've just made the wrong version of the figure. I'm fully aware that this one looks like the one when he just gets zapped into the sanctum, rather than the one that you see at the end of the film. As for the face though, I think I found a really good face print. This face print from one of the Arkham Asylum characters looks a lot like Jamie Foxx. I have no idea why, but they really captured his likeness in this face print. The standard face print is a little evil smirk, which I think is great, and it also has that goatee that he has in the film. And the alternative face print is just perfect in my opinion, as if he's having a conversation with the Spideys on top of the Statue of Liberty saying, "Nobody's going home." If LEGO don't decide to use this face print on their official Electro figure when they eventually come around to making No Way Home sets, I'm going to be swapping out for this one, because it's just perfect in my opinion. And as for the hairpiece, I have just used a standard Finn hair. Now you could use the Sam Wilson hair from the Marvel CMF series, however I think this hair just works a slight bit better than that one, but if I'm honest, either one would work. Now like I say, a lot of these figures are from the Statue of Liberty No Way Home fight, but there's a few figures here that I want to include as little extras in this episode, as I want to have a full collection of No Way Home minifigures before LEGO drop their own versions, so I can compare mine to the figures when they eventually come out. Meaning even though these two minifigures that are coming up next aren't necessarily in the No Way Home fight, they are still figures from No Way Home and they look awesome.
What is it, Peter?
First off, we have Aunt May. Now Aunt May is a really difficult character to build. It stumped me for weeks, and was even one of those figures that I was considering erasing prints on to try and get a more accurate Aunt May figure. But looking through my minifig collection of minifigures that might have worked for this, I eventually came around to Scrooge McDuck. Scrooge McDuck had the torso which I felt was the most accurate to Aunt May, and again I was considering erasing the front of the print here, but I just decided to flip it round because they had that nice back printing, which kind of gave that look from the apartment just before things go, well, horribly wrong. The face print I've used is actually the one from the Fab 5 set. I really do feel like this finally captures the essence of Aunt May, and again without buying something fully custom, I think is the next best option. And you can't really have Aunt May without Happy, so I decided to make Happy as well. And again, this one is totally 100% inspired by Mini Superheroes Today's version. I have used the same Widow's Peak hair from Peter Venkman in black, the same one that he used, and also the Kraven the Hunter face print, as if you use the neutral version and not the angry version, I think it looks a lot like Happy Hogan. And a big shout out to Mini Superheroes Today for getting this one completely correct in my opinion. The only difference between my one and his one is I have used a different suit print, as I prefer the buttoned up look rather than the open look that he has with the security badge. Now on to the three main ones that I know a lot of you will be excited for. No, not the three Spider-Men, but we're starting off with one of them. But before we get on to the next one, a little word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Flexispot. Now some of you might not notice it firsthand, but my reviews are all done on Flexispot desks. This isn't the first time we've talked about Flexispot on this channel, as they sponsored a video in the past, but now they're sponsoring this video, and they've sent me out their EG8 desk to show you guys off in this video. If there's one thing I really don't like about building LEGO, it's doing it on my main computer desk. So having a dedicated desk in my room just for building is essential, and I haven't really been able to do that, considering my build desk became my recording desk when I started this channel. So now I have this desk to make sure I have space to build, so expect this desk in future videos. The desk is made of metal and it's a really good construction. It feels like a good quality product, and if I'm honest, this desk was way easier to put together than the previous one, to the point where I was able to do it on my own. The thing I love about the EG8 though is the fact that it has programmable buttons where I can basically choose a height for the desk and then press and hold one of these buttons, and then that button will always send it to that desired height. Not only that, it's got a lovely place to charge my phone with two USB-A's and a USB-C connection, so it's nice to see that it's future-proofed, and also having a drawer in your desk is just a game changer in my opinion. All of that stuff that's usually cluttering your desk up can now go in this little drawer, out of sight, out of mind. If you guys are in the market for a desk, then I highly recommend Flexispot's ones. I've been using them for about a year now, and like I say, this new one that they've sent out to me, I'm going to be making good use of. You can go over to Flexispot's website by using the first link in the description, and they currently have an Easter sale going on, which is up to 30% off from April 1st to April 30th, so if you really need one, go over to the website now and get yourself one, because you really don't have long left. Thanks again to Flexispot for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into the minifigures. This is the Tom Holland one. Now this one is the one that I was on about that you'll need some custom prints for. And these prints are all from Firestar Toys, and if I'm honest, they look really good considering they're so cheap. I've only just got into custom printed minifigures, and I must say I spend a fortune on them. So having something that's this cheap and honestly looks really good is nice to see, even if it's not the way that LEGO print their minifigures. And unfortunately, until we get some Spider-Man No Way Home figures, I think I'm going to have to just stick with this for now. Now, as you can see, I'm using the regular integrated Spider-Man suit that we got from the Sanctum Workshop. That is a fantastic minifigure and shouldn't be left lightly, but the one improvement I thought it definitely 100% needed was arm printing. And Firestar Toys have released a little arm pack that you can buy for this figure that does give it a nice little arm print. This face print is also done by Firestar Toys, and as much as I do like it, I still think the eyes are a little bit far away from the mouth. But once again, it's the best we have so far in terms of custom prints. At least till I get a few more things in the mail. Wink wink. And although this Spider-Man isn't necessarily from the ending fight, I think there's another episode in mind that just focuses on that. So press that like button if you're hyped for that episode. But moving swiftly on to two more very exciting characters.
Hello, Peter.
Now this was honestly one of my favourite figures to create, and if I'm honest, I think still needs a slight bit of work, and I just need your guys' help with making a few of those decisions. As for the face print, I've used two of them. It really depends on what scene I'm trying to recreate here, as if I'm doing the glasses off version, I am using a Snape print, but if I'm using the glasses on version, I'm using this face print from the Batman CMF series. Honestly, I have no idea who the character is, I just used it because I thought it looked good. As for the hairpiece, you can see I've used a Harry Potter hairpiece, but obviously it's in black, and I think Alfred Molina's hair should be dark brown, and I'm hoping if LEGO do decide to make this figure, they use this hairpiece just coloured in a dark brown, because then I think it would be so much more accurate. As for the torso, this was again a hard decision, but with the help of my Discord, we found this torso piece, which I think works absolutely perfectly for Doc Ock, and the only real difference between this and a perfect torso piece, in my opinion, is if this had been dark green instead of olive green. This one is actually from a Wonder Woman set. Again, I have really no idea who it's from, and the legs I've used are just some standard olive legs to kind of show that the torso coat flows into the legs. Speaking of legs, you can see that I've attached a Venom piece to the back and have these holder pieces sticking out of the back, mainly for the Doc Ock arms, which I have used this technique. Now this technique is the same one from the Daily Bugle, however I've changed up a few of the colours here and I need your guys' help with deciding which colours would be the best in this situation. Should I just go full grey, or should I do the gold and grey, because I do think that looks nice. Just shows that little subtle colour variation that the Doc Ock arms have during No Way Home. Obviously I'm not going to pick the red, gold and grey, because by this point in the film, the red is completely gone from the Doc Ock arms. But just thought I'd include it in this video for a fun little nod.
That's some neat trick. That sense of yours.
I love Willem Dafoe. I think this role is perfect for him, and I'm so glad he came back to reprise his role during this film. And if I'm honest, this is one of the figures that I 100% wanted to get right, because if I didn't, I don't think I'd like this model at all. So with this figure, I've done a fair bit to try and make this look as accurate as I can. First off, we'll start with his legs. I've used Mysterio's legs from the original Far From Home sets, mainly because I wanted this Goblin to be a dark green colour as opposed to a lighter green colour like his original 2002 counterpart. As for the torso, I've used the Daily Bugle version of the Green Goblin. It kind of has that purple look to it to kind of indicate that purple hoodie that gets all ripped. And if I'm honest, looks the best, but considering that we cover it up with something else later, it kind of doesn't matter what torso you use. But for the sake of close enough, I've used it. As for his arms, I changed those out to be a dark emerald green. Again, I've used the Mysterio body from Far From Home, just because he had some nice green arms. As for the neck piece, I have used the witch's skirt from the CMF, and I've just wrapped it around the headpiece instead of wrapping it around the torso piece. Probably not his intended purpose, but it looks really good around the neck. Speaking of the neck, I've used Kite Man's head. Now this, just if you ask me, is perfect for Norman Osborn. And I think this is the closest purest option that we will get unless LEGO release their own version of the Green Goblin in future sets. If you wanted to do the goggles look, you could always take the head from Doc Ock from the Daily Bugle and use that head instead. But if I'm honest, I like the expression that this face gives, and I think it just works better, so I'm going to keep it on. And then as for the hairpiece, we can either use a Han Solo hairpiece, which I do believe works well on this figure, or you can use a purple hood and put it over the top of the figure. Yeah, it gets rid of that nice hairpiece, but it also gives a menacing look, which I think looks really, really nice. But what's the Green Goblin without his signature glider? Now, if I'm honest, over on the Discord in the Statue of Liberty section, we discussed gliders non-stop to try and find the best glider mock that would work well for this situation, considering that it needs to be roughly minifig scale and it needs to look like the glider from the movie. And although, like I say, going through a ton of different designs, I think I settled on this one being the best out of all the ones I saw, and this one's from Lego Dark Knight over on Instagram. And although there was a few different things I wanted to do to my version of this glider, I appreciate that he gave the instructions basically away in his Instagram post. Now obviously, this is my version of that glider. Now you can see I got rid of those stud shooters on the back, and I changed out a few bricks here to give him the pumpkin bombs on the front. I also swapped out those jumpers for a single stud because in my opinion, a single stud connection for minifigures can really make your minifigures pose more dynamic where they're positioned and also obviously still stud in. That's why most of my mocks that I create only stud their minifigures in by one stud. And with this design change done, here is my glider. But like I say, there was one thing I wanted to show you guys at the end of this video which I wasn't 100% sure about. Now, as you saw in last week's episode, I constructed the Statue of Liberty and showed it in a video for you guys. Now, I had a lot of comments talking about where the shield was and why the torch was in the hand, and you guys just need to watch the film. The shield was actually attached to the arm of the Statue of Liberty and the torch was in the hand the entire time. Doctor Strange even stands on the torch at one point. So the fact that I got so many comments talking about how the Statue of Liberty was holding the torch and not the shield was flat out worrying. But I did talk about building the shield in that video and how I wanted to do that, and here's the thing, I did it. When constructing the shield, I didn't want to make it too big. Now obviously I wanted to make it in scale with the Statue of Liberty, but I wanted to make it dipping into the water a little bit like it is in the film, so I wouldn't have to build such a big shield. Now when constructing the shield, I was fully aware about how big the Statue of Liberty was comparatively to the shield, and my issue is that when the scaffolding is around the Statue of Liberty, this shield is going to have to be so far in front of the Statue of Liberty that I'm unfortunately not sure if I'm going to even have space to display it. Now this could be displayed alongside the Statue of Liberty, just over on another part of the table kind of thing, but if you ask me, it's just not the same. And although I would love to do the whole Green Goblin versus Tom Holland fight on this shield and do a completely separate video on it, which I'm still thinking about doing, I'm not sure if this would be included on the final Statue of Liberty build, especially because I want to put the Green Goblin and Tom Holland in other places of the Statue of Liberty. But it is like what I was saying before, I want to have versatility on this model. I want to be able to change this model up from time to time and do the minifigures in different poses and recreate different scenarios you see from the film, obviously the shield being one of them. So my question to you guys is, do I build this shield? It will set back the Statue of Liberty a little bit, considering I have to put parts into the shield, but at the same time, it would actually be more content before we got into the Statue of Liberty, because I'm unsure truly whether this can be displayed alongside the big statue when everything is said and built. But let me know in the comment sections below. If you haven't seen the previous 2 episodes to this series, click on the video you see now appearing on screen, and I will see you guys over there.